Welcome back, Commanders. This is Epic Big Bird, and I am back with another Rome Total War commentary. This battle that I'm about to show you is a 22,000 denarii battle. It takes place on the Gallic countryside. I have chosen the Brutii Romans in this fight, and my opponent will be facing off against me as the Seleucid Empire. So I'll take you over unit composition real quick before this battle gets underway, and we will show you this battle. So for my main set of infantry, I've decided to go with 5 sets of gold urban cohorts, backed behind them with a set of gold legionary first cohort with an extra experience chevron, and this is also where my general's unit is. In front of my first line, I have 2 sets of light auxilia with I believe gold attack and an extra experience upgrade. I have 4 sets of archer auxilia with gold attack and defense. I also have on the flanks at the moment, I believe 4 sets of Praetorian Cav, which are gold. Check to make sure that's accurate. 3 sets of Praetorian Cav, 2 sets of Equites, which are gold, with an extra experience chevron, and then I have also opted to bring 3 sets of cavalry auxilia, which are also gold. Now, this is the formation that I more or less set up in. I'm going to move these cavalry auxilia to the flanks. I'll keep my Praetorians close to my army body, and I will keep my Equites in a position to respond. I'm just going to fast forward now to game start so we can get a look at my opponent's army. But you guys will pretty much be able to see, so this is how I'm going to start my battle. I'm going to keep my Praetorians on the left side because this is where I anticipate his cavalry will be. You can see he's opted to split his cavalry as well. We'll start over on the left side. You can see my opponent has opted to bring on his right flank 2 sets of cataphracts, which are gold, and this front one has an experience chevron. He also has a set of companion cav, which are gold over here. On his left wing, he has 1 set of cataphracts, which is gold, and 2 companions, which are gold as well. He also has a general's armored bodyguard here, which is gold. He has, I believe, 4 sets of silver shield legionnaires, which are silver gold. He has 4 sets of visible archers, possibly more, which are gold silver. And finally, he has 3 sets of silver shield pikes, which are gold silver. So, right off the start of the bat, going into this battle, I was most concerned about his cataphracts, as they are the most dangerous element to any Seleucid army. And this is why I decided to bring so many cavalry auxilia. They are going to basically harass my opponent and hopefully wear down his cataphracts before the battle starts. Now, again, talking about the way I deployed my units, I deployed very defensively. I am not going to push the attack on the Seleucid Empire. I don't think that would be very smart of me at this time, especially with his cataphracts. Now you can see here I'm sending in my cavalry auxilia. I want to get them engaged as soon as possible. And they are going to start throwing javelins and sapping at these cataphracts. You can see his archers are targeting me, but these are light cav. They won't be taking too many casualties from archers. He sends his companions after my cavalry auxilia, which is an okay decision on his part, better than to make his cataphracts chase them off. This is also bad for me because now my cavalry auxilia are wasting their javelins on these companions. Right there you saw me mess up a little on my micro. I was trying to get better control of my units here by taking them off skirmish mode, and I kept making a few blunders. This is actually working out to my favor though, because you can see here he's decided to chase me with his cataphracts. Now I was able to split off another set of my cavalry auxilia and will focus on this one set of cataphracts, whereas his companions are now distracted with this set of cavalry auxilia, and right here you see they catch him, and they rout. Unfortunately, they do rout. Now you can see these guys are getting close, quite close to my army. You can see he stopped and decides to charge again. He does suck my cavalry auxilia into a fight there, but we pull away. And we did lose quite a few auxilia there, but what can you do? We're not doing as much damage as we had hoped with our javelins here, and he does turn away from my army right here. But at this point I've got him targeting with my archers, now that he has his backs to us. You can also see here his companions are winded behind my cavalry auxilia. I decide to charge them down into it and split off a set of my Praetorian cav to smash these companions, and he tries to run through my auxilia, but as you can see there, it doesn't work. So there's one set of companions out of the way, and the real first exchange goes in my favor. Now you can see here he's got his archers isolated out here by his heavy cataphracts, and very, very soon I'm going to take care of that. You can see he's targeting my Praetorian cav. Right here I'm going to charge my cavalry auxilia into these archers. He's going to try and react with his cataphracts, I believe. Now you might also be wondering, well, Big Bird, what's going on the other side of the map? And I will show you if you really want to know. Absolutely nothing is going on. He hasn't mobilized or moved any of his line at all. He's just literally been letting me harass his his left flank the entire game, and I am quite okay with that. You can see now that his cataphracts are now winded. These guys are still fresh though, so we still have a lot of work to do here before we're ready to engage these cataphracts. We are not doing as much damage as we'd like to do to these cataphracts, but what can we do? All we can really do is continue to prevent the engagement as long as we can, and hope that we can wear down these cataphracts before we have to force an engagement, or before my opponent forces an engagement. So we are going to continue the skirmishing battle. As you might have noticed, I kept my Praetorians back tight to my infantry, and as soon as his cataphracts turn away, I send in my auxilia again, just to try and get him to chase me back. But he's finally learning that he won't catch my cavalry auxilia, and that he will just have to let them go unchecked. So here this might look like a foolish maneuver here, but I managed to rout the rest of his infantry here and pull out with my cavalry auxilia. And once again, I'm going to get away from his heavy cataphracts, and now you can see that they are getting tired, which is good. So I think he realizes this, and he's trying to pull his cataphracts back to rest now, I think, and this is when I decide that it is now time to act. If I'm going to try and kill his cataphracts, this would be a good time to. At least I thought. But I'm going to continue skirmishing. You can see he's been leaving some holes in his army for me to strike at his archers. I see this right now. I'm a little hesitant to act at the moment. You can see his archers are focused on my auxilia, and at this point in the battle, that's totally okay with me. My cavalry auxilia are most likely mostly out of javelins. and at this point are just going to be a good distraction tool. You can see here I'm going to attempt a quick light cavalry charge here, followed up by my Praetorians. My light cav were intended to shoot through this hole and rout his archers and hopefully get behind his army just to give him something to think about. You can see here these set of cataphracts split off to try and intercept them, while these set of cataphracts intercept my cavalry auxilia. My equites are going to be easily allowed to pull right away from those cataphracts and chase his archers down. You can see over here I smash into his cataphracts, but they do have the hill and they are much more heavily armored. So I get a quick charge in and I pull away from him. However, I don't get away quick enough, and I have to charge in my other set of my Praetorians here to prevent this cataphracts charge. Now you can see here I'm trying to wheel my other set of Praetorians up over the hill to try and get an advantage on these cataphracts, and that's when he turns to envelop my other set of Praetorians. I'm going to charge down the hill into the backs of his Praetorians, but in a stand-up head-to-head fight, his cataphracts are going to win any day against my Praetorians. You can see here he's routing my light cav against his cataphracts and his armored general, and I am going to pull out with the remaining force of my Praetorians. So this was a pretty big cavalry fight right here. It was a pretty big cavalry skirmish, and he ended up coming out on the upper hand on this one, and this one was definitely a little more decisive. But thankfully I have kept a whole set of Praetorian cav in reserve on my right wing. Now you can see here his cataphracts and archers are coming forward, so I'm going to mobilize my archers to try and kill more of his cataphracts. They are very tired and winded from the fighting. I'm going to ward off his archers with my Praetorians, and then hopefully wheel his cataphracts closer into my missile range. And you can see there we are scoring quite a few hits on his cataphracts now. Even on the run, we are still managing to hit them with our bows. So at this point in the battle, now my mobility has been severely limited. I'm down to about 1.5 sets of Praetorian cav, and I do have a set of cavalry auxilia who came back from routing with about half their javelins left. You can see here his general is getting confident and cocky. I'm going to pepper him with archers, and I try to catch him with my Praetorians, but unfortunately he is going to get away today. But as you can see here, he is now going to isolate these Silver Shield pikes, and he's leaving most of his archers to be protected by these one set of Silver Shield Legionnaires. Now what I'm going to do here is I split my cavalry, and I'm going to send the weaker of the two into the archers, close to the Silver Shield Legionnaires, and I'm going to burn right out of there as soon as they're there. Now what this did was it gave my opponent an option. He could either close off the assault, or he could keep his pikes trained on my more healthier Praetorian cav. And really either decision, whether he would have charged my Praetorians or stayed home to protect his archers, would have been a better decision than just sitting there. But the fact that I was able to make him make a decision within that 2 seconds allowed me enough time to get in and get a charge in on his archers. I've still got my archers trained on his general as he's stationary and has his back turned to us. So a big part of this battle is appearing that I am in control of the battle when really I feel that my opponent was in a much better position to win, especially from the beginning of the game. What my opponent did in the beginning game that was wrong, in my own opinion, is that he held off and allowed me to control the battlefield. As Seleucid, with cataphracts, they are going to be most efficiently used in hammer and anvil strikes to the rear of your opponent's enemies. They have such a powerful charge, they can literally rout an enemy with one charge. And that is why I chose to target his cataphracts in the beginning of the battle so heavily. Now you can see I've whittled his cataphracts down a few, not as many as I would have liked, to about half strength on his left flank. And seeing that his entire army is spread out and immobilized, and how there is a slight hill advantage over here, I am going to decide to move my legions over onto his left and force him to reshuffle his army to face my urban cohorts on the hill, or else be stomped over on his right flank. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to keep the rest of my cavalry on to cover the advance on the right wing. And you can see finally on the right flank, his right flank is finally starting to move. Too little too late in my own opinion. If they would have been there to help aid in the fighting on his right flank, they could have easily changed the battle. But you can see now they're advancing. And don't get me wrong, my opponent still has a very healthy infantry and archer contingent, but to win at this point in the battle, my opponent would have to use his cataphracts and his cavalry very wisely, since he only has about 3 sets of silver shield pikes against my urbans. I'm still harassing his archers. I'm using my cavalry there to ward them off, to keep them out of range, so my infantry can advance unharassed. But you can still see here, this is pretty evident that of my opponent that he was not very confident in his own army. Even though he sees my entire infantry shifting to the right, he keeps most of his army immobile. He's afraid to mobilize them and to really capitalize on any opportunity that comes to him. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to take the hill from my opponent, and I'm going to force the engagement now. So here's my cavalry auxilia who have come back from routing. They have still about half of their javelins, and then I still have about a whole unit of Praetorian Cav combined with these two units make up about a whole unit. Excuse me. And you can see finally on the right he makes a move with his Cav. He's finally about to swing them in. I see his generals coming out to meet my Cav, and at first I was like, alright, I'll take that engagement any day of the week. My cavalry auxilia were going to charge his archers, but then I took a quick glance at my right flank and noticed that the rest of his heavy Cav were crashing down on my right. So I wheel off. I send my cavalry auxilia to his cataphracts to again begin harassing them. You can see here they're getting archer fired. They're going to start throwing their javelins and just barely scoot out of the way of those cataphracts. And they're just going to ride right next to his army and just start throwing javelins all day. And at this point in the battle, I think my opponent has realized that there is nothing he can do about my cavalry auxilia. They are going to have full reign of the battlefield as long as they are around. So that you can see there, he wheels back. He's not about to... He's not interested in chasing my cav anymore. You can see here I've begun fortifying my position on the hill. Now I did leave my opponent some space to maneuver on my flank, and I want to say I did this because I wanted to entice my opponent into an attack. I didn't want to just sit at a standoff at the bottom of the hill. But you can see also I'm going to layer my urban cohorts here. It's a good tactic to use, especially as Rome. That's how their real army was developed. They used waves of attack when they attacked. So you can see here I have my front line of urbans, and then I have 2 sets of reserve urbans behind them, and then my legionary first cohort as the third wave. Behind them I also have 2 sets of light auxilia, which I actually pretty much forgot about at this point in the battle. Something I definitely need to work on, but what can you do? Right now, my archers are exchanging missile fire with his archers, but I only send out a couple of volleys. You can see there we're taking out huge numbers of his archers, but I really wanted to entice his cavalry to come forward. Now, remember what I said when the battle started here, that I was playing very defensively in the beginning of this battle, and that is still true at this point. I know my cavalry will not win in a hand-to-hand fight with these companions and definitely these cataphracts. So instead of meeting his cavalry charge downhill and taking that downhill advantage, I pull my cavalry even further back. I want to protect the rear of my army. If I allow his cataphracts to get rear charges into my urbans, that is a problem for my urbans, and that will cause my urbans to break. You can see here the first bit of cataphracts that we had engaged in the beginning had been resting this whole time, and I had decided that that needed to change as quick as possible. I didn't like how they were now fresh units. They had time to rest, so I set my cavalry auxilia to start harassing them again, and lo and behold, he decides to chase them again. So this is great. I'm pulling away 2 sets of fresh cataphracts from the fight with this 1 set of cavalry auxilia who cost maybe 500 denarii. And they're gonna chase him for quite a long time. You can see here my Praetorians are coming back from a successful cavalry charge into his archers. Yeah, that was correct, sorry. And now you can see his generals wheeling up to join his cavalry mounting on my right flank. Here I begin to start losing some micro. My Praetorians here are pretty much going to get rear charged. You can see here my legionary first and these urbans are going to move to intercept these cav. But his cataphracts are already winded, and most of his infantry are winded. So I'm going to turn my Praetorians back to face. He tries to run his cataphracts into my archers, but my legionary first cohort is there to meet that fight. And there you can see the first of his cataphracts start to rout. His infantry at the same time has come forward, but most of my urbans have now thrown their pila. On the right, you see his cataphracts have finally decided to come back from chasing my cavalry auxilia. I have these urbans coming to close that flank down before he can manage to get behind them. You can see here he's pulled out with, or excuse me, his cataphracts are routing for the most part here, but he still has a healthy set of companions. I'm going to pull back my urbans to protect the front line, or to protect the rear of my infantry. These urbans are going to intercept these companions, but some of them are going to bypass and smash into these urbans, and that is going to cause them to rout. So there I lose 2 sets of urbans, but thankfully I have a set of my general's unit. My legionary first cohort is here to close down the right flank. It's in a prime position. There you can see his companions get another charge into my urbans. I get very lucky that these guys don't rout. But over on the left you can see here my urbans that were holding my left flank in fact are able to rout the cataphracts that were holding them. And now my legionary first cohorts are going to go in and reinforce the middle, while my 2 urbans that are now free on the left are going to swing over the hill to collapse to secure the right flank and make sure that my general does not get flanked now. These light auxilia finally get out of that mess and are going to start throwing their javelins. And I now have most of my archers trained on his phalanxes. You can see here his cataphracts are coming back for a secondary fight, but if you notice here, I'm keeping this 1 set of urbans in reserve. Again, using the reserve strategy, it's going to work great to Rome's mobility. You can see here he's going to try, and he actually does, I believe, bypass these set of urbans and get a decent charge into my men. But these cataphracts are already wavering. They've already broken once. They're exhausted, and just the sheer number of men scare them, and they actually rout just before, or actually right on contact to the backs of my urbans. So I get quite lucky there. And there you can see the last of my cav come in with a nice side charge, and there I get a chain rout of his silver shield pikes, which is a good 200 men right here, 250 men. And at this point in the battle, I'm going to use my cavalry auxilia to run these pikes down to make sure they don't come back. But you can see here pretty much his entire army is going to chain rout at this point of the battle. You see he loses another set of 50 pikes right here. He's trying to disengage, and these pikes rout, which is a 200 men strong, and now all he has left are these 237 pikes, and he's totally surrounded at this point. Now, even with these pikes, could have possibly still won this fight if they would have turned to face these two units downhill and left my 10 urbans to their backs. But you know, I really think at this point in the battle, my opponent realized that it was over. All he had left was this healthy set of silver shields and some legionnaires, which are now taking heavy archer fire. And you can see these silver shields are wavering. They know that defeat is certain at this point. My urban cohorts here have 8 men left, and their victory seems certain. Only a fool could lose this battle, so that makes me really happy. That guy just got knocked on his ass. You can see his silver shields are coming up to try and charge my men from behind, but his pikes rout just in the nick of time, and my urbans are going to turn and make short work of those legionnaires. And that is pretty much the battle, people. He's got one last set of peltasts over here. Let's follow these cav in for the charge. And there they rout, just before my Praetorians reach them. Gosh, he must have other units still on the battlefield. Alright, well, at this point in the time, you can see the battle is pretty much wrapping up. We're in the mop-up stage of the battle. So I'm just going to throw this into fast forward. There you can see my opponent admits defeat. So yeah, and here you can see the battle stats. You can see here I've deployed with 2,883 men. I killed 2,658. My opponent deployed with 30,025 men and killed only 1,640. I want to show you the battle stats real quick, guys. My legionary first cohort, which was my general, did a massive amount of killing. I'm really happy about that. I must have constantly put them in the proper position. You can also see here my cavalry auxilia actually did rack up quite a decent amount of kills. I don't know if these were cataphracts. I don't think so. Most of them were probably archers, but I hope that some of them were cataphracts. My archers also did very well, and those are really the big hitters. So what worked well for me in this battle? I think controlling of the battlefield. I imposed to my opponent that I was in control of the battle very early, and manipulated that to my advantage throughout the entire battle. I was always setting the pace for the battle, whereas that was my opponent's downfall. I feel that my opponent should have pressed the attack and really controlled the battlefield with his superior cav early. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching my videos. I really hope you enjoy. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you guys would like to see more videos. Again, I'd love to hear from you guys. So thank you guys for watching again. This has been Big Bird signing off.